Welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. We are back at it, and the judge is a little bit excited today. I'm a little bit excited. Yes, I am. So today's episode actually came about because I'm actually scheduled to host a whiskey night coming up pretty soon. So I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I might as well make an episode for it. So today's episode is, hey, you're hosting a whiskey night, but you only want to serve 5 bottles. What 5 bottles to serve, and more important, why? All right, so we're gonna dive into that. But before we do that, real quick, let's just kind of give an update as it relates to housekeeping as a whole. So first and foremost, actually tomorrow I will be in Atlanta with Short Barrel. So myself and a big group of patrons, we're all going down to Short Barrel. We're gonna do a barrel pick, a full barrel for our Bourbon Judge community only. Really excited for that one. Obviously we'll see what Short Barrel has to offer for us, but I know a lot of folks in our community are asking for either like a honey finish, like the bee's knees, or a cigar finish, or maybe just like straight just bourbon, just standard bourbon, with a decent age statement, cask strength. So we shall see. But either way, it's always fun going on barrel picks. I always love hanging out with my patrons. We're hanging out the night before, grabbing dinner, grabbing some whiskey, and the barrel pick will be equally as fun as well. So that should be a blast. Next week, so literally next week on Halloween, yes, Halloween, we're going to Tennessee. So myself and a different group of patrons, we're going to Tennessee. We're doing a barrel pick with Jack Daniels. I think we're doing the barrel strength rye with Jack Daniels. So that's gonna be an epic experience by itself. Whenever I have barrel picks, my goal for my community, I try to bring as many of my patrons with me as possible because it's a blast. Honestly, you have so much fun, and I love people being a part of our pick team. So looking forward to both Short Barrel as well as Jack Daniels. And then we have a whole bunch of other barrels that are actually already scheduled to come in. So those are the ones we're picking, but we already have other ones that are coming in very soon. Cedar Ridge, barrel strength. We have a 4-gate double oak coming in pretty soon. So a lot of cool stuff for the judge community. Really happy and excited. All right, like I said, I'm hosting a bourbon night. You can't serve everything because number one, you want to make sure people are responsible and getting home safely, right? So hopefully everyone has a little DD, obviously. But if you're having like 5 different, let's call them almost 5 different categories of whiskey to choose from, what would they be and why? So we're going to go through what I think are 5 excellent categories of whiskeys to choose from if you're hosting a bourbon night. And then, hey, like we used to do back in the day, I'm going to add in an asterisk. Cool? All right. As almost like a 6th category. All right. So what's the first category and why, Judge? So when I think about the first category, for me, and this is the bottle I would actually put out on my bourbon night as well. So I'm hosting a bourbon night. This is probably one of the first bottles I'm going to put out that night for everyone to kind of go around, sample the whiskey, and honestly just enjoy, in my opinion, pure, great Kentucky bourbon. And at a really good proof point as well. One that everyone loves. And for the category, I almost kind of put it as not only Kentucky bourbon, but almost a single barrel that you can always count on. This distillery, you can always count on it. So the single barrel, good Kentucky bourbon category, you can always count on. First and foremost, Wild Turkey. This is the Kentucky Spirit. If you've never had Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit, please make sure you definitely grab a pour of it. I mean, I don't care if you have to go to a bar, go to a friend's house, or honestly, just go buy a bottle of it because you won't be disappointed. Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit is absolutely amazing. Now, this was a single barrel that, actually a barrel pick that I did myself with my good friends over with Seven Whiskey. But honestly, even take away our single barrel, all of the Wild Turkey single barrels that I've ever had, they're either good or phenomenal. There's really no bad. They're either good or phenomenal. So you're looking for a single barrel, the first pour of the night, this is the category right here, in this bottle specifically. That is number 1. All right, so Judge, what is number 2 and why? What is number 2 and why? All right, before I get to number 2, I need some whiskey. Cheers. Whew. I'm sipping one of these categories, by the way. I'll tell you which one. That's amazing. So what's number 2? Number 2 is a category that I think if you're hosting a bourbon night, it's important for people to try this. Because remember, when you host a bourbon night, depending on who's showing up, not everyone might have the exact same experience as you. Some people might be newer to whiskey. Some people might be more like, let's call them like whiskey enthusiasts, where they have a bit more knowledge about whiskey as a whole. But the second category that if you're hosting a bourbon night that is equally important is either a wheated bourbon or a wheat whiskey. So for me, I chose a wheat whiskey. Number 2, I would definitely put out, and I plan on putting this one out as well. This is the brand new Middle West Spirits, the Straight Wheat Whiskey Cask Strength. It's absolutely an amazing pour. I know a lot of people are probably going to say, well, Judge, why didn't you pick Weller or Makers? Everyone knows Weller or Makers are known for being a wheated bourbon. Sure. If you want to pick one of those, you definitely can. There's nothing wrong with Makers. Nothing wrong with Weller as well as the entire product line. But for me, when I think about either a wheated bourbon or in this instance, very similar, a wheat whiskey, I think this product is absolutely amazing and is something different. So I would just say a wheated bourbon, or in this case, a wheat whiskey. I'm going with Middle West Spirits as my number 2, my wheat whiskey of choice for my bourbon night. Cool? All right. What's in the 3 spot, Judge? What's number 3 and why? Oh, man. Well, a lot of people love bourbon. Obviously, you're having a bourbon night or a whiskey night. But at some point, people have to make the, let's call it the leap of faith over the bridge into the world of ryes. There are a ton of great ryes out there. Almost every major distillery or even brand this day and age has a rye. Almost all, not every single one, but most do. But when I think about a brand that does a fantastic job of making their own ryes and just putting out fantastic quality rye whiskey as a whole, easily affordable, great whiskey. Number 3 is an easy choice. I'm a huge fan of Sagamore Spirit. I always have, and I always will be. I think just for the quality of the whiskey that you're getting, for the price point, $60, $70 for most of their bottles, Sagamore is just, they're on the map, and they're staying, right? They make rye whiskey, and they make it fantastic. Truly. No matter if it's like their standard rye whiskey, their cask strength, some of their finished versions, just grab a Sagamore bottle for the rye whiskey category. You will not be disappointed. All right, real quick. 3 quick easy favors. Number 1, hit the like button. Number 2, drop me a comment. Let me know, Judge, what are your thoughts? If you're hosting a whiskey night, what categories would you have for your whiskey night? And then more important, what bottles would you put with those categories? Last but not least, please make sure you all subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you get a notification each and every time I release new content. Cool? All right. Cheers. Woo! Delicious. All right. The 4th category. By the way, these are not in order. It's just 5 different categories when you're thinking about hosting a bourbon night that you should include. All right, so number 4, if you're like me, you love a really good finished bourbon or rye, just a finished good whiskey. I think you can finish bourbon or rye both very well. And when I think about having a finished product, for me personally, I'm a huge fan of Bardstown Bourbon Company. So this is the brand new collaborative series, the Silver Oak. Oh, my. Goodness gracious. So this, as it says on the front, straight bourbon whiskey finished in ex-Cabernet barrels. So bourbon finished in ex-Cabernet wine barrels. For me, I love a finished bourbon. It just changes the profile of the whiskey so much that it does belong in its own category. And for some people that may or may not be as experienced with finished whiskeys, give it a chance. Definitely try it. It could be this finished product or something else that's out there that you like yourself as well. So that's the 4th category. All right. What is number 5? What's kind of at the end of the road, but not quite at the end of the road? Because remember, we also do have a asterisk coming up. So what's the number 5 category? When I think about whiskey this day and age, a lot of people will say that the growth for the whiskey industry is going to come from different areas. But for me, what belongs in its own category and is a whiskey category that I definitely support and I love. And I mean, I love this category. So whenever I host a whiskey night, including my one coming up with my friends, the 5th category that I will always have, by far, is the what? Of course it is. Craft distilleries. So coming in the number 5 spot, which is, by the way, what I'm sipping. This is Watershed Single Bourbon coming from Watershed Distillery, based out of Columbus, Ohio. I am honestly so impressed with the quality of whiskey coming out of craft distilleries. I know a lot of times some people will say, oh, sometimes, you know, craft distilleries, they have like that craft, like early, almost like a youthful note. That might be the case for some craft distilleries, but don't judge a book by its cover, because honestly, not all of them are like that. When I think of Watershed, when I think of, gosh, even the other craft distilleries that are even based in Columbus, Ohio, Middle West Spirits, High Bank Distillery, and other up-and-coming craft distilleries, even outside of Ohio, but across the U.S., craft distilleries are doing a fantastic job of making great quality whiskey. So if you don't choose Watershed, make sure you choose something else that's a craft distillery. Open people's eyes to a different type, not type of whiskey, but a different category of whiskey that is honestly amazing. Definitely amazing. And for that, a little bit of whiskey left, of Watershed left. I'm not going to leave it in the glass. Cheers to Watershed, and cheers to whiskey in general. Woo! Delicious. All right. So, Judge, what is your asterisk and why? So, the last category, this is honestly probably, I think it's important, right? When you have whiskey, you have to open it, you have to sip it, and you should share it. As you notice here, all these bottles are open, and most of these bottles I've had with other friends, with the exception of Watershed. I just got this bottle recently, so I just started to dive into it. But all these other bottles, I've shared samples with friends, or people came over for a whiskey night and they've had pours from them. That's what whiskey is all about, not just keeping it locked up in a cabinet. So let's call this the expensive category. A bottle that might cost a little bit more than like the average bottle of, you know, it's not like a $60 bottle like this or a $70 bottle like that of the Middle West. It's a little bit over $100, closer to like $140, $150. But honestly, what whiskey is all about is sharing it with friends. So for the expensive category, for me personally, I always bring out a good expensive bottle of whiskey during whiskey night. And for me, my expensive category goes to Found North. Oh, everything that Found North touches, it's like gold. Every single batch, I don't care if it's batch 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or the most recent one, batch 10. Every single one they touch, it's like touching gold. So obviously Nick Taylor and his brother, they are just creating amazing whiskey when it comes to the Found North releases. So I always bring out Found North whiskey for my friends to try. And my next bourbon night, this is going to be on the table as well. Hey friends, as we say in this courtroom, peace, cheers, most important, salute. Take care. See you guys.